and starting it?
Is everybody here?
I'm not gonna hold it.
Guys, is everybody here?
You can just put it on the thing.
First of all, we're really grateful for you coming back. Very, very much.
Shoshone?
Shoshone, yeah.
Shoshone. Yeah. Can you tell us that you're doing this on your own and that you're okay with us videoing it right now?
Oh yeah, you have my consent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to.
It means so much to us that you're here.
Yeah.
We were amazed.
I'm the aunt of the girl Lindsay. Who was the pastor.
The rest of us are.
Parker, Parker's my great niece.
Would you mind if you told us what you saw and what happened, and then if we asked you some questions after? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
No, take your time.
She recently lost her mom.
That's okay though. It's not about that right now. It's about you guys. It's just, if it were my family, you know, I'd want to know. So I'm really just touched, you know, that I'm able to be here. When everybody was leaving, I wondered, hi, how are you? Hi,
That's Micah's mom.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Shoshone. I'm honored to be here. Sorry, I got a little emotional, but
That's okay.
I'm just happy to be here, you know, because when everyone was sort of leaving, I just kind of stood there and thought, wow, I wonder what's going to happen. You know, you always kind of wonder. You don't have to know the person to care. So, you know, it's like really kind of like, I feel it's kind of like a God thing to have an answered prayer, to have a follow-up to that question. And earlier today, I had my friend drive me to school, and she saw some people, well, we both saw, and I thought, I wonder if they know the people, they're probably here for the accident. They probably know the people who are involved. Oh, I wish I could stop. But, you know, I was already running late, and I was just like thinking about that. And I love the fact that she, you know, stopped, and then, you know, all this happened. So, anyway,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
but
I
awesome,
agree
you guys.
with her. I think it was like a God thing because
Definitely.
I dropped her off and I came back and just before I was getting off the exit, I looked over and I could still see people there and I thought, you know what, Lord, I should probably, you know, this is such an incredible person that she was so overwhelmed with, because when she told me the story, she really broke down about what happened, what you guys are gonna hear. And I thought the least I could do was, you know, stop and see if everybody was okay for her, you know. And so then everything happened the way it happened. So go ahead.
Yeah, so, wow, he has a lot of, you guys are an awesome family. You're all, it's really cool to see everybody here. So let's see, this was Saturday night. I was on my way, I don't even, like if I was giving a police report, I don't have an exact time. But it was after 9 p.m. I want to say it was almost like maybe around 10 or something. Anyway, it was gonna be a late night swim. I was headed off to see my friends and just kind of playing with my cats and kind of take my time. And sure enough, timing, I'm getting on the freeway, the McCall on-ramp to the 215 South. And as I'm on the on-ramp, the first thing I noticed is a vehicle to my left. And it looked like there was some damage. My first thought was, okay, another delay, you know, another accident, because I see accidents, you know, all the time. But usually by the point, or the time, sorry, my words, by the time I, you know, come upon an accident, there's already other, you know, either a tow vehicle or, you know, police or whatever. But so I slowed down because I saw some other vehicles. I thought, okay, fender bender, they're getting information, whatever, so go slowly. But as I slowed down, it looked like it was fresh. I noticed there weren't any emergency vehicles, and then I saw people getting out of their cars. Oh, getting chills. And they were saying, call 911, call 911. So I was actually already in the process of pulling over, because there's been one or two other times where I've seen something and I've had to be the first person to call. So I just was already kind of slowing down and pulling over, just in case, you know, just to call. I report things all the time anyway. You know, crazy drivers, like speeding, you know, whatever. So I was already pulled over and I had my hazards on, and the guy was saying call 911. I was thinking, oh great, no one's called yet, like I better call, you know. So it's funny, I already had my phone in my hand because I was putting in the directions where I was going. So I called 911 and it said it was busy. So I'm like, I'm just gonna stay on hold, you know, as long as I can. Or I mean, until they answer. So bear with me because I want to get everything. So I'm on hold. I get out of my car. That's the next thing I do. I get out of my car. I start going towards the vehicle, just like how, you know, everyone else, wherever they were going, that's where I was going. So I go over to the vehicle. I feel like there was smoke. I remember the front of it being, that was the first thing I noticed when I passed it, was the front of it was like smashed in, but I also noticed it was facing this way, it was facing me. So it was kind of like, I didn't process that maybe till a little bit later, like, wait a second, how did this happen? I also made a point in my mind, okay, there's no other car. I didn't see any other vehicle, so I was like, okay. And then I noticed there's a tree nearby, so I thought, okay, well maybe it's, but you know, I'm not a scientist, I don't know. But, so I go towards the vehicle. I wasn't right near the vehicle, but as I was kind of walking away from my car and kind of, you know, gauging the situation, I noticed there were some gentlemen who were reaching into the driver's side and they were helping get the car, you know, a gentleman out of the car. My first thought is, oh my God, you're not supposed to move, you know, someone who's been in an accident because you don't know what the injuries are, you know, but there weren't any. But there was at least one person saying that the car was gonna like blow up, possibly. By this point, there were flames, I would say more towards the front of the vehicle, and some smoke. So this was for sure like, okay, yeah, you know, you do want to get somebody out. They got him out. I remember seeing, I'm sorry, it's a little bit graphic, but there was blood. There was like a lot of blood on the face. So I was like, okay, so immediately you think, okay, there's an impact, you know, on the face. And I want to say his eyes were open, but you know, it was so fast. They moved him, put him down on the road. But then one gentleman in particular, the one who had initially come away from his car saying call 911, was saying, we need to move him, after they had already placed him, the car is gonna blow. Like, it's gonna blow, we need to get him further away from, and I was like, no, don't move him, because one, I understand cars don't blow up. It's not like it is in the movies. Two, it's not that fast, and I felt the risk of moving his body wasn't, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, the issue of the car was not as pressing as, let's make sure he's okay. I just had the sense that we were far enough away from the car, even if it were to pop or whatever, ignite. I mean, it's not like the movie's like, you know, crazy explosion. So I told him, I was like, don't move him, you could paralyze him, you know, don't move him. But they did turn him on his side. So while they were handling that, I was trying to assess the other, because there was other stuff going on. So I was like, okay, what's going on? So I went to this other vehicle, it was a black vehicle, and the lady was saying something about, you know, my baby, the baby. But then she clarified, she's like, it's not my baby, but the baby, he's in the car, I don't know what to do. And she was kind of frantic. So I felt like I was just trying to keep everybody calm and trying to, you know, like, I'm good in crisis, but sometimes later is when it hits me. But I was remaining calm, and I was looking, I was like, okay, so he was from the vehicle. Okay, so I guess they had pulled him, the child, out of the back seat. And he was in the car of the lady. The child appeared to be, I'm so sorry, I don't mean to, Parker, right? Parker. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be impersonal.
No.
Parker was in he was in like the driver's seat of the woman's car. I don't know the woman's name.
He was pulled out before, I'm sorry.
To be honest with you, I don't remember
That's okay.
at what point he was pulled out.
Okay.
I just have such a graphic memory of them pulling Micah out of the car. But he was in, after I saw them rolling him on his side and I came back around, I noticed that Parker was in the car of the woman's, and it seemed like he went from kind of like being calm to all of a sudden, almost as if maybe like the realization of something. It was strange, you know, and I mean, all I could assume is that he was in shock. That's like the only thing I could, you know, kind of it seemed like he was more afraid than in pain. That was kind of like, he's just kind of like, what is going on, and who are these people? So finally, by this point, they'd gotten on the phone with me, and I was reporting everything, and they wanted, I said, there's a child, you know, there's there's a, you know, the male driver, and then at some point, what was her name, Lindsay? At some point, Lindsay came up, but I think it might have been after. I'll get to that. At some point, I think it was after the phone call, to be honest. So at this point, I only knew about the driver and the child, Parker, and they wanted to know how old he was, and I knew that this lady was kind of handling him, like trying to keep him calm and trying to talk to him, and I didn't want to, you know, mess anything up, but I was also like, well, they do want to know, so I was like, can you find out how old he is? I said the wrong thing, and I was like, how tall? And she was like frantically, well, I'm about 4'11", and he's probably, I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I mean, how old? And then she's like, how old are you, you know, sweetie, or honey, or, you know, and he said 8, I was like, 8, you know, and I'm just like trying to do everything right, and so by that point, I had heard siren and, you know, the paramedic vehicle, I keep saying that, the ambulance was coming up, and so 2 thoughts came to my head, either it's for them or it's for someone else, but are they gonna stop? You know, I'm just like hoping, like, can we get somebody, let's get somebody. But they pulled over, so I was like, okay, so I told this to the lady, the, whatever you call him, person, operator, thank you, yeah, the operator, and she was like, oh, okay, well, if they're already there, but I was kind of like, well, wait, I don't know if they're gonna stop, like, I don't know if they're here this. Yeah. She's like, but if they're here, then I'm gonna disconnect with you since they're there. I'm like thinking, oh gosh, what if I have to get them back on, you know? But I trusted. So they parked. I'm trying to remember all of what I did. I was talking to this person, that person. Somewhere in the mix of that. Oh, I think they went to Micah first because he was unconscious. I think the paramedics went to him first. I, at some point, noticed this woman walking up, and it was Lindsay, to come to find out, this woman walking up. And she had blood on her face as well. My immediate assumption was that, oh, she's probably from the other vehicle. And because there were so many cars, there were people who were stopping to help, that I couldn't really quite make sense of who was there for what, or whatever, and it was dark. By this point, you know, there were flames, you know. Oh, I skipped something. Sorry if I'm getting things out of order.
Trying to get the door open.
Yeah.
To see if there was anybody else in there.
Before I noticed Parker, I think maybe right around that time, after they got him out, I was yelling, you know, is there anybody else in the car? And they said everyone was out. But what was odd to me, and now that I think of it, maybe because maybe I did see him come out of the back seat. I think I did see the back door open at some point, and I put it together. What concerned me was, normally if there's only 2 people in a vehicle, the second person's going to be in the passenger's side. So I was unaware still that Lindsay was a part of this, because then when they told me, they just said everyone was out. So my concern was that maybe someone was still in the vehicle. So just me and I went over and I tried to open up, and the doors were really odd. It's not like a normal handle. You have to like push it in, and it was like locked. And I was like, are you sure everyone's out? You know, I'm yelling, and they said yes, because I'm like, I'm not about to leave somebody in a burning car. I don't care what kind of risk. It's like, you just go in. So at that point, I came back around. I think maybe that's when I saw where Parker actually was. I was like, oh, okay, he's in the car. Okay, he was in. So I told them. So the paramedics, they started getting out and doing their thing. I saw Lindsay approaching, she had blood, and I was like, oh, maybe she's from the other car. I've come to find out, no, she was a passenger. Her little dress thingy that she was wearing looked like it was broken, like it had, I don't know how that would happen. So she was talking to someone else, not me. She was trying to, I think, figure out what was going on, and she was clearly stunned, you know, probably in shock, whatever. And I was kind of more focused, I think, at this point on the lady who was with Parker, because they had him out of the car, and she was reporting to, I think it was the paramedic, that he was complaining of pain. So he was saying that there was pain, so of course then that's like, okay, he's unconscious, this one has pain. So they were working on looking at his shirt, or pulling up his shirt and looking and trying to ascertain if it was just like bruising, or if it was, you know, seatbelt or whatever, trying to talk to him, but he seemed to be quite, you know, shaken. So yeah, it was kind of hard to get him, you know, to like, I don't know if it's like cooperate or like answer, but it's also like you're trying to be sensitive to like this person is like freaked out, you know. So she was like trying to keep him calm and everything. Then Lindsay wanted, I think he wanted to see his mom. And then the lady who was helping Parker was like telling us to have, you know, her clean up her face to not maybe freak out Parker, you know, with the blood. And so we were kind of trying to gently let her know, like, okay, you have some blood, let's like try to get it off. Really, really nice couple there. I think they had parked before I had gotten there, or maybe it was at the same time. We were all getting out, and the lady had some water and was putting on napkins and kind of helping clean her up and just being really sweet. And the lady who was with Parker was doing a good job of like, oh, these nice men, they're just gonna help, and you know, they're gonna help you out and all of that. And like right then the fire trucks came, and so they kind of, I feel like, took over because they had to put out the car because the car just kept getting more and more inflamed, and it's just like, thank God that, you know, we came. Now, the two gentlemen who had pulled Micah out said that when they approached the vehicle, everyone was unconscious. So later, when the firefighter was asking Lindsay, you know, about, and he asked her, were you unconscious at any point? And she said, no. I knew that wasn't accurate,
Right.
but of course, clearly,
You don't remember.
yeah, you don't
You don't
remember.
remember.
Yeah, you don't remember. They asked her. Yeah, they
No, you
asked
just
her,
don't
you
know.
know, they asked her the year, they asked her a few questions. They said, where are you right now? And she said Temecula, which isn't the case. It's, you know, Menifee. Like a couple other things she said she didn't know. And then, you know, what year is it? And she said 2000. And then she just paused for a really long time. You could tell she was trying to figure it out. But I was like, okay, yeah, she doesn't know. And the firefighter was like, that's good enough. And so she was real, you know, kind of stunned. I mean, you know, of course. So they were trying to assess, you know, Parker's pain, trying to figure out everything. We're trying to figure out. Now, the firefighters were like, okay, now who is she? And, you know, because each new guy that would come, so they would get a bit of information, and it was like everyone was trying to piece together, wait, is she from a different, she's from, oh no. So I was helping kind of clear that up. Well, no, it's the child's mother. Apparently she was in the vehicle. She was, you know, the passenger in the vehicle. And so we were kind of helping her clean up. Then they, after kind of assessing him initially, they put him on, you know, the, I guess like the bed, the raisable bed. I'm not sure if it's a gurney. Yeah, I don't know, gurney or, so they put him on that. And then
Which him?
Parker. Yeah, Micah had already been dealt with. I believe that he was the first. I believe he was the first one to be dealt with. You know what I mean, and to be assessed and all of that. And then I think at the same time that was going on, there were people coming over to where Parker was. And then she was next. Lindsay was next. And they started, you know, helping her with her wrist, and it was clear, it was visibly like just destroyed. You know, it was like super strange. So it was like, okay, you definitely, but you're not feeling pain, I guess. You know, it's so fresh. But then she kind of, you could tell there was some kind of like, you know, presence coming, because she was like, oh wait, did I see my son? You know, then it was like coming, the awareness and the presence. And so and she was trying to walk away while they were like, they had her like, hold on, we're almost finished, you know. And then, so the lady who was helping with Parker was like, yeah, see your mom, she's right there, she's fine, she's okay. And we're like, yeah, see, he's right there, you're gonna be there in a moment, you know, like, let's just finish your arm. And so, at some point, I believe they took her, I'm not sure how, I think, because she was walking around, yeah, she was walking around and talking, you know, with us all. And my vehicle was being used, they had the equipment on there, and my tail lights were kind of helping, you know, the visibility. So I waited until like the very end before I left. So after they got everyone, I kind of chatted with the two guys, because I kind of wanted to understand. So I talked with, okay, that was it. So I talked with the two guys who had helped Mike out of the vehicle. And I was like, what did you guys see, right? So there was one gentleman, I'll just say, there's like the taller guy, Stretch, and then like the shorter, more stocky guy. I don't remember their names. I don't even know if I got them. The taller guy, he came second. From what I understand, came second to the scene. He had a truck and he had it parked. So if the vehicle is here facing the way I came, and here's the tree, there was a truck parked right here facing that way. I guess he saw what was going on, and so he pulled over. He pulled over and he came to the vehicle, and when he came to the vehicle, he's the one who said he saw everyone unconscious. The other gentleman was apparently going south on the 215, the same direction that Micah was going, and he said, and I believe he said he was behind, and he saw, the way he described it, he saw it just like the vehicle just veered off to the right, but like really quickly. So my thought was like, oh, maybe someone's changed. So I was asking like, well, was he in the farthest to left lane? Like maybe he was like realizing he needed to get over or something. He was like, well, I didn't see that, but I saw, and he said, but it was almost as if, and then they were kind of chiming in, it was almost as if a car, like you can't even, almost as if, I don't remember how it was phrased, but it was like they were saying you couldn't do that even if you tried, kind of a thing. Like you can't drive that fast. Yeah, it was almost like something, either he had hit something, that's maybe what they were thinking, is that maybe like his vehicle had hit something in the road, or maybe there is that metal that's there, like a metal fence, like a partition or like a median, but he didn't say that he saw what he hit. It's just, he's surmising like maybe he hit something, because it's so strange how it just suddenly shot off to the right. When he saw that, he said, okay, this isn't right, to himself, like something's wrong, and so he felt like he needed to pull over. He pulled over immediately, like, wait a second. And then he turned around and went up.
Oh,
That's right, this is Morales.
Oh, hi.
This is Lindsay's mother and father.
Hi, nice to meet you. Hi. Hi.
If you're coming in, come in quick so we can.
She's still telling the story.
Hi.
Yes, please.
So the gentleman pulled over. He's like, something's not right here, right? I need to pull over and kind of like assess the situation, not for his own safety, but more to like, okay, what's wrong? I need to check this out. So then he turns around and goes up the on-ramp, like, and that's, I guess, where he was parked. I don't remember which vehicle was his, but he came up, parked. So I think he was probably the one who was there the longest. He was there like right after it happened. He saw the car veering, and then I believe right after him was the man in the truck. And I don't remember what he said exactly he saw, but I do know that the two men approached the vehicle and saw that everyone was unconscious. So we were all kind of trying to figure out, like, you know, what could have done this? Did he hit the tree? And then we're like, well, maybe not, well, maybe so, well, maybe. I'm like, well, the front, and we're all like, yeah, the front's pretty smashed. And I'm like, and when the flames were coming up, I was just thinking like, oh my gosh, this tree's gonna catch on fire, and then his truck is gonna catch on fire, and then the car's going by, you know, like, I'm like thinking in my mind, but they put it out, and those fire hoses are really, really effective. So, yeah, I feel like I got everything. Oh, and then I just talked with the nice couple, and I told her it was really kind how she was being. I was really like touched, like, just thank you, you know. And I got their names, and I asked her twice, and I still can't even remember her name, because it was just, I think his name was Dave, and I don't remember what their last name was. But the fire department did get their names, and I believe got the two gentlemen who physically helped, because I'm pretty sure they wanted to know who had physically pulled them out of the car. So I would check with the fire department to get the specific man's name who was the one who witnessed the car veering.
Okay.
Because they have to have his name, and, you know, especially if, like, legally, if you know, they would have to provide that. So, but yeah, I did not see it, and I did not physically pull anyone out. But I was ready to. I was like,
obviously, with the
pulling
car
the
on
door.
fire.
Yeah, get them out. You know, I mean, that's what you do. So I don't know if I gave enough, but, you know.
Question for you, for Micah. Did they put him on a stretcher and get him into the ambulance before they moved on to Parker? Or did they just leave him on the roadside?
I don't believe they left him on the roadside. They were physically handling him. They were, I remember just seeing a commotion, and they were like immediately dealing with him. Parker was next. I think because Parker was conscious, Parker seemed to be okay. He just seemed to be more distraught. It was only once they had been addressing him, that we were like, he's saying he's in pain, and they're like, oh, okay, well, you know, let's figure that out. So that's from my recollection. Yeah.
You didn't say anything about the California Highway Patrol. Were they there?
that's another interesting thing we were discussing at the house, because my boyfriend was overhearing us and he was saying, well, because the cops, I was like, the cops were not there. I did not see any police up and even to the point of me leaving. Now, doesn't mean that they weren't there, because I will say the fire truck was, you know, blocking the entrance onto the freeway. But I would think that I would have seen the
You would
police.
think they would have been asking for witnesses.
Yeah, no, the fire department did that. So the paramedics got there first, and then the fire truck came, and then I really feel like the fire department like really stepped up and were like, you know, doing like they do a lot. So they did, but yeah, I did not see any police at all the whole time. Yeah.
Two-part question. Did you see the airbags deployed?
Thank you for reminding me. So yeah.
Such an important question.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, they were yellow. I remember it was a bright yellow, plasticky looking type of thing. Thank you for reminding me. The gentleman, those two gentlemen told me that one or both of them had cut it. They had to cut it.
Like,
For whatever reason, they had to remove it. I think maybe to make it more easy to get to the people in the car, you know? From what they told me, this is what they said, that it was after that happened that the car really started to ignite. Yeah. So I don't know if it's maybe something inside the airbags that is like flammable. Another interesting thought, you know, too, is seeing as it was a Tesla, and this is just like my little 2 cents, is that from what I understand, the engines and stuff are not in the front, right? So that's another question I have about that. If you guys maybe want to look into the vehicles, because I'm just curious what would be igniting in the front.
The batteries.
The battery, that's okay.
It doesn't have an engine, it's an electric vehicle.
Oh, right, yeah.
Batteries.
So
So,
it's only batteries and so.
right.
Okay, so
Sorry, that was a
don't they
stupid-
have, don't they record everything like in a black box?
That's what
too?
we're hoping.
we haven't seen
The car burned pretty bad though, so we're asking about it.
So that's a question for you.
That's what
You
I was
said
gonna
that
say,
the fire department was effective in putting it out. How was there, when we've seen pictures of Teslas that have burned, there's nothing left but a piece of wire and a rim. And so and when you said that they were pretty effective at putting it out, was
Yeah,
there?
those like meaning the hoses
Right.
did a great job of, you know, sometimes, because depending on what starts a fire, water alone doesn't necessarily do it, but those hoses really,
So did they get it out pretty quickly?
well, here's another thing too, you know, because I've seen fire being put out before too, sometimes you have to like get the little embers or whatever too, so I noticed after it appeared to be out, they still were
Of course,
doing it, I think just to like make sure, just really soak it, like
of course.
you lower temperature, I guess, I would think, you know? Yeah, and on the black box thing, yeah, that was gonna be another thing I mentioned, that my boyfriend, because he knows a lot about Teslas and stuff, and he's like, I'm pretty sure there's a black box, everything should have been recorded. So I'm glad to hear.
So how much of the car was intact when they were just wetting it?
It was the entire car. It was the entire car. Now, I'm gonna be
Well,
honest, I wasn't examining the vehicle, so I
Right.
can't say
Of course.
how much of the cushion was,
No, I'm just saying,
But it's
was,
But
looked
the car
like a
was
car.
intact.
it looked like a
The
car,
car was intact. It was very crunched in the front,
of course.
but the fire didn't
Okay,
like
so we're not gonna just
remove
find
its mass.
ash. Right, we're not gonna just find ash.
No, yeah, there was a
Oh,
vehicle, and it was the front
I have pictures
portion.
of the car. From what? I emailed you I texted you the link.
Yeah, the back of it was
Me?
not
Yeah.
burned.
We can do that later.
Yeah, the back of it was not burned. The back of it, I don't believe the flames touched. The front half. So it was like, if you picture the car, like, I'm in the car, the front of it was what caught fire first, somewhere in the front. And then it just started to go back and higher. So the front half of the vehicle is what ended up being charred.
How many minutes do you think it burned?
Holy crap.
I would say,
I thought I did.
estimate, I mean, like from the time, I think it had already kind of been ignited before I got there, but I would say, God, it is so hard to tell when in that kind of a
Yeah,
scenario how much time had passed.
Yeah, this is a guess.
But like several minutes at least, yeah, like 10 minutes, I would say. Because from the time I got there to the time, actually, I might have the records, and actually, I could probably see how many minutes because I was on the call. Yeah, I was on the call, and I hung up when the paramedics got there. But that's not when the fire truck. So the fire truck got there, I would say few to several minutes later. I would say less than 10 minutes later.
Did Anyone mention anything about a smell of alcohol or anything like that at any point in time?
Well, interesting you asked that. The woman who's helping Parker did kind of a motion as if like she thought maybe Lindsay had been drinking, but I don't
Okay,
know.
it's okay.
But
She
I
wasn't driving.
I don't know
I'm
if,
just asking.
right, so I don't know if it, well, the reason why I'm wanting to say, well, because it's like, I would judge her behavior on having been concussed. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's what I like. Why are you assuming this lady was drinking when she has a head trauma? Unless she smelled alcohol, but I was near her and I didn't smell alcohol.
Okay.
So I would chalk it up to the head trauma,
In
honestly.
regards to Micah, no comment was made about him or anything
I
like that.
heard
Okay.
nothing. I heard
Okay, good.
nothing. I heard nothing
Okay,
of
good.
that. Yeah,
That's
absolutely
good to hear.
nothing.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go through right now and see how long I was on the phone. Oh yeah, let's see. Okay, hold on. 911, 3 days ago. Okay, how do I look at the details? There's gotta be a way to look at the details, right? View call details. Okay, so I was on the phone with them for 5 minutes and 29 seconds, and it was at 10:20 p.m. Saturday, June 29th. 5 minutes and 29 seconds. So it was at least 5 minutes that it was burning. So yeah, about 10 minutes, maybe a little more than 10 minutes it was burning. But yeah, like I said, it started at the front. I almost want to say like the front right, or just the front, and then it started to move back, and it just, yeah, it got taller, and then before I knew it, it was in where the driver and passenger would be. So it was just like, oh my God, thank God we got them out, you know, thank God we were here, because if you're unconscious and in a car, I mean, what are you gonna do? You know?
Did anyone mention having to cut any seatbelts?
No, they just heard, not to my recollection, but I remember them saying something about cutting the airbags. That's for sure that they cut. I think they may have cut the seatbelts.
Okay.
Also, when I was asking about whether or not Parker was in, because they mentioned something about a car seat, and they said two things. They said that he was on the floor, like between, like he was jammed down, like between. And so I was like, well, does that mean he wasn't in his car seat, or was he not properly strapped in his car seat? But then someone said that they saw him in the car seat, but then he ended up down on it. So yeah, that's what's so strange. I don't understand that.
That you
Yeah,
put him,
I
I
did.
put him in the car, he
This
got,
is grounded.
it's a lower,
Booster.
because he's 8 years
A
old,
booster.
just a booster.
Booster.
And then, we made sure his seatbelts were on, and
Okay, so
I
it
gave him a
was.
hug before he put his seatbelts on, so I said, now it's time for seatbelts, and he put them on, and, cause I always, you know,
But the
walk him out
impact
to
was
the
pretty-
car, you know, so.
So
Well,
he
he's
was-
8 years old, he could have undone it himself.
And
Right.
just gotten on the ground.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that might have been.
that'd
So
be
it's-
scary.
that's
His
good to
stomach might
know.
have hurt really bad from the.
Yeah,
seatbelt.
so he just undid
Yeah,
it.
so he got
probably.
out. Okay, that makes sense then. Because I was like, my thought is like, oh my God, he wasn't putting the car properly. Like,
No, he was.
he was. So
Yes,
that explains
yeah.
he probably undid it.
Right.
If
Right,
you're the
that's where
tree,
his
where's the
injuries were
car?
here.
Yeah, they were. That's where he was
Yeah.
pointing, and you could see it was raised a little bit. Like, well, you know, like my skin's real sensitive too. So like
Yeah.
any kind of little, like I've just scratched my leg and it's gonna
Yeah.
be inflamed. So I wasn't, you know, you don't know until you get into the hospital and like,
Yeah.
figure out what's really going on. But I think they were doing some preliminary tests, whatever it is that they do, kind of checking. What were you asking? Oh, the
If
tree.
you're
and-
the tree.
Yeah,
where's
was
the
there,
car?
did they hit a tree?
I don't know. I would think so, because that was the only, when I looked at it, the car was, like I said, it was facing the opposite direction. The front of it, clearly the car hit something.
Yes.
Okay, there's no question.
Right.
It is like smashed in.
It had to have hit something.
Yeah, it hit something.
So
So the question is,
when you
where's
said
the
it
other
was turned
vehicle?
around,
It
they
was-
weren't on the opposite side of the freeway. You're saying that
They were between the on-ramp and the freeway. So here's the freeway headed south, and here I am getting on the freeway, and then there's like grass and dirt and a tree and
Two
other
trees.
trees. No,
Oh.
that's before that.
Okay.
There's trees, so if I'm getting on the freeway,
Would you mind drawing it on a piece of paper for me?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
having a hard time visualizing.
Yeah.
yeah, well, I saw it and it's still, I don't get it, you know, I really don't, like,
If, you know, like if one of us is
oh,
the
okay,
car.
relative, okay.
Yeah, like obviously, like
Yeah.
if you're the tree
Okay,
and one of us is the car, like how far away do you think? Like, I mean, that's fine, we have pictures.
We already have the burn marks.
Yeah, we know that, I'm just curious, like how far, we don't know exactly the position
I
of the
almost
car.
wanna say, let's drive over, I'll show you right now.
They've all,
Right next to the-
yeah, I'm just curious, like, what do you
So-
think, like, so if you're the tree, like, how far do you think the car moved out? That's all, I'm just trying to be.
Okay, less than, less than 20 feet probably.
Okay.
We're so bad with
this, let me
I'm
go
just curious
out.
as far as like
And you
impact.
guys, you can go out and see it. It's,
You know.
Well,
no,
no,
she just
it
wants to
doesn't,
see it.
it doesn't make sense, cause I was trying to analyze it too,
And it's okay, let me ask her what she knows, and that's all we need to do.
Yeah.
You can share the other.
I'm
information.
okay, trust me, I can deal with whatever.
Okay, good.
You mentioned that they got Micah out of the car, they had to take him out.
Yeah.
We had heard that he had been ejected. We found his shoe across the road and down the
We
side.
found a shoe.
No, it's his, because we have the other one here, the
Okay,
other one is in the
okay.
hospital.
Yeah.
We have the pair now.
I wonder if that's
No,
been when they were
that couldn't
picking
have
him up or something, but
Yeah,
it's
could-
actually his shoe,
yeah,
cause
he
one was
couldn't
on
have
his foot
been-
and the other one was on
Yeah,
the other side.
I can say unequivocally he couldn't have been ejected because I saw them physically pulling him out of the
That was
vehicle.
one of your first
So
things
whatever
you said.
That
happened
was like the
The
main
matches,
thing
yeah.
that I remember, I'm just like,
I have
Holy
one more
shit.
question about, if you can remember when Micah was being loaded into the ambulance, have they, is there anything like, do you know if they intubated him or if they put like the breathing mask or something over him? Were they doing anything like breathing assisting?
I can honestly say I don't know. I wish I did, but you know, if I could go back in time, I would pay more attention to that.
Of course.
But what it is like, I figured, okay, they're handling that, let me make sure everybody else,
Yeah.
cause no one was with
But whatever it was,
yet.
it was something that was so good
Yeah,
that it caught
they
your attention,
were,
but-
well, he was, before they got there, the emergency vehicles and stuff, we got him out, I was standing there, but, you know, got him out and I'm like, okay, are they doing the right thing, are they handling right? You know, innocent bystanders trying to do what they can. When the paramedics got there though, it was like, okay, good, you know, like you're handling it, do something. And then I came over to address, you know, the other situation and just make sure, I don't know, it's weird, it's like I'm trying to get it in a chronological timeline, it's a little bit blurry.
You're doing great.
Okay, but I would say, like, cause if I were to go there right now, I could get out of the car and I could figure out spatially, but I'm really bad, like, I don't wanna give the wrong number of how many feet, but I would say, like, no more than 20 feet away, the tree. What was so strange though, so, here, this may help, so imagine the tree is like right there in the ground, right? And then the car is to this side of it, right? So if you're getting on the freeway, you're driving this way. The car was facing this way and it was like this side of the tree and a little bit in front of it. So, like, I don't understand how a vehicle, I don't know, it's so strange. You would think, okay, so it's like I'm trying to forensically or whatever, you're driving on the freeway, maybe you veer off and then you hit the tree, but then how would you end up off of the tree, face the other way, and further this way?
They bounced off and.
Do you think there's any way that there was another car involved?
She wasn't
She-
there.
she-
Yeah,
She didn't see anything.
that would almost make more sense.
We need to get the people the stocky guy.
Yeah, the
Stocky
stocky
guy. Stocky guy.
Stocky guy and
Stretch
and tall guy.
stocky
Yeah,
guy.
thank you, stretch and
Stretch and stocky.
Stretch and stocky.
Stretch and
Yeah,
stocky.
because I don't, and I don't remember the name, but, you know, I'm
But
sure
the
people-
firemen have their names.
Yeah, the firemen, questioned those, what they had witnessed and everything, and then he also got the names of, the couple, the man and the woman who were there. And I don't know how much they saw, but they were there definitely helping.
And-
Like, I was just like, what do I do, you know?
What town was the fire department from?
Oh my gosh, I don't know if they introduced themselves, but I assume, there's a firehouse over where I live, which is just like literally 2 miles from the accident. So I'm assuming it's gotta be the nearest fire station, it would be Menifee, Sun City, Menifee.
We have the link I sent on is the website of the fire department that posted the photos, so.
Okay.
I
I
sent it
thought I
to
sent it to you.
No, you did, but it didn't load to mine.
You didn't send it to
Do you
me.
have it yet?
Yeah, I did, and I just sent it to everybody.
Because they're gonna have more info
We're
on
on the,
what they saw of the vehicle. 'Cause I'm really curious to know too, how does a vehicle end up in that position?
What was the?
It's so strange. Yeah, I'm not a real science person, you know. It's like I'm curious to know though how it could end up
Facing northbound.
facing north and in front of the tree
Yeah.
that it hit.
Oh, it hits.
It was a palm tree
Very
though. So
unscientific.
you can't,
So
like,
it
you can't
was a
even
palm
really-
tree, because
Yeah,
very
and
unscientific.
you can't like really move them, it wouldn't
Right,
surprise you.
right, it's like
I,
in
the
cement,
shoe
that's
was
what
way
they
more
do.
than I did, and it hit and then spun the car.
that's okay.
Right.
None of us
But-
expect you to
but
be
to
an accident
bounce-
expert.
But
We-
to bounce off of it and to reverse
around.
direction, I feel
Well-
like that's so strange.
Okay.
But-
This was just saying.
Again,
about
if you're going down, you bounce off of the tree, and the front end that hit it is the reaction force that is gonna spin it.
Exactly.
So if you watch accidents on YouTube, it is not terribly surprising. Or if you watch exotics that people are showing off on, they tend to hit things and bounce back and
Bounce and then
backwards.
turn, yes.
So, but we don't know. But hopefully Stretch or Stocky will know.
I like how all these people have names.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a great description.
Yeah.
We can just call the fire department and ask them, give them our contact info and ask them if they're willing to talk to us.
I think you did a fantastic job.
Yeah, she
Thank you
did.
so